What's going on, gamers? We got some more interesting villain behavior coming out of the PlayStation world. I just got back from, a bar hanging out with some cool people. It's like a family over there. I love that place. Had a good time. But reading some news on Twitter from my phone, I was like, okay, I got to get home and I got to really do a video on this if this is actually true. So I went to read like a couple posts on it and I'm like, is Sony really doing this? Not the Sony of the West, but Sony of Europe, right? So Sony France is kind of like being a little bit ridiculous in this discussion right here that we're about to have. Are you guys ready to get into this? It gets interesting. Right when you guys thought that AGN was just doing positive PlayStation content, I've seen people call me ponies. I've seen people say all sorts of stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm not a pony. I love Nintendo the most. I told you I've been gaming since, 1993, 1992. I've been gaming for 35 plus years. I've beaten like 3,000 plus video games. I've gamed on every console you can possibly imagine, right? I've roasted Sony before, roasted Microsoft, roasted tons of things, right? But I wasn't able to do that back then because I didn't have my channel going. 2 years, 5 months in now, right? AJ thinks he's doing all right. But in this discussion right here, it gets very interesting. So become a member, leave a tip down below, like, comment, subscribe. Let's get into this. Yo says, P.O., Sony is banning people. You're like, wait, hold on. Banning people? Well, where is this happening at? On Twitch? Sony is banning people from mentioning the disc issue on their PlayStation streams. You're like, whoa, hold on, man. Where's this happening at? It's happening in France. There's an individual named Pierre right here, translated from French, that is telling people what he tried to do on his live stream on Twitch. Now, if you guys don't know, Twitch sometimes has some weird stuff going on, right? This is not a YouTube problem. This is a Twitch problem that Sony is trying to control, right? He says, attention. And we got a lot of comments to get in. We got a lot of drama to get into. Attention. On the PlayStation France streams, let you guys know, this is in Europe. It's in France. Any message referring to the PlayStation decision, you know what he's meaning ending physical disc production in 2028, is censored and you will be banned. Come on, man. What are we doing here, Sony? PlayStation France, what are we doing? PlayStation Europe, what are we doing? You guys know PlayStation's biggest base was always in Europe, then in USA. They betrayed Japan a while ago. Nintendo owns Japan, and they have perfect equilibrium across the planet. And I guarantee you, Nintendo's going to be growing a lot more since a lot of these crazy villainous decisions Sony's been on. So PlayStation is not even allowing you to have your free will of speech confidently, which means that you're kind of getting to them in a way in Europe about the way that Sony is going about this physical disc ending production. And you know what they said earlier, like you were just going to be fine anyways. You're going to obey. PlayStation has the digital base. Sony's not worried about it. They brought out the joystick meme against you when they were silent for like 5 straight days. Sony basically made it clear that no matter what, we got a monopoly. We got so much brand loyalty. People are going to convert anyways. And if we lose anything, we're going to make up the money for what we lost anyways in the digital realm. They're basically saying you're going to obey and you're going to be fine. Here's the thing. I would have not changed my stance and worried about anything physical because I'm all digital regardless. But I kind of feel like Sony should have treated the gamers better in this situation. We see what MBG is doing. It's kind of actually interesting. But we're going to see how long that goes on, right? Because according to Sony, this is just a phase. I've seen this happen with Pokemon. I've seen this happen with so many gaming phenomenons. But what ends up happening in the end, just like politics, is people do end up forgetting about it, end up taking it, and they continue because they realize if you try to go anywhere else, it's like, it's not that much better, right? And like you got PC gamers saying Sony, these people are going to be leaving PlayStation for PC. I'm like, why would that be any better? Because PC has been killed physical. It's all digital. Steam does not give you license ownership. Only God does that. The problem here is physical ownership. But where is that left in the gaming industry? Nintendo. and handheld and console docked. You try to buy a Steam Deck, you try to buy a ROG Ally, you try to buy some Lenovo, you try to buy the PlayStation Portal, and even the future PlayStation console, and if Microsoft tries to make an Xbox handheld or anything else, you're not getting physical copies. You can't put a card in there and play physical. Nintendo is the only medium in the world that's going to keep preserving this. It's still there till PlayStation to 2028, and stuff there is before 2028. But the point here is that Nintendo is the only one, the only bastion that is left in that world that is going to keep preserving it. And don't be surprised if the Switch 3 or whatever the Nintendo console is after that is still preserving physical, because they're the type of company to do that, because they do not change. So right here, yeah, we see this. You're censored and you're banned. That's how the brand treats its players. Bravo, congratulations, he says. Now let's go down and let's take a look at some of these comments. And then we got some other posts actually covering and talking about this. Besk says they're trying to censor people who they put this crap on themselves. Yeah, Sony, this is what I call cause and effect. Take it. If you're still not going to change it, what the hell does it matter? Why would you do that and damage your brand even further? Or you're so arrogant, you believe you could do this and it doesn't really matter. Nothing's going to change much. Sony has this type of arrogance. They displayed this in the PS4 era, in the PS3 era, in the PS2 era, and somewhat in the PS1 era. PS2 era, they were very arrogant going into PS3. PS4 era, they were very arrogant. Sony's arrogance has not died down. It's actually increased. That's always a good thing. Pride comes before the fall. Remember that saying. Does this mean that PlayStation is going to be destroyed and be in an Xbox position? Not necessarily, but why don't you benefit gamers more and not realize that historically you've made more money than ever in the history of gaming? You even said the PS5 generation, before even 5 years sit around, is more profitable than PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4 put together because of the idle microtransaction vampirism. Why would you not preserve physical? You're still going to be fine no matter what. We still got till 2028 to see how they're going to handle things. Still quite a bit here. The market could change drastically by then. Yo says at some point someone will talk what they have said internally about this in detail. 100%. Going down, Jacinto Gomez says, if you genuinely want to hurt Sony's bottom line, remove your payment information from your account. This drops the customer lifetime value scores and it damages their projections. This is 10 times the effort of turning off PlayStation Plus. Interesting statement he just said right here. Limit the data they collect on you. It skews the reports sharper. Remove personalized algorithms is another leg that drops that value. And finally, disable marketing notifications. This blocks them from reaching you for marketing related purposes and hurts their projections further. In a way, what he's saying is kind of true, but most people are not going to care about doing this. You could tell a lot of people to do that, but they're not going to go do that work. Unless they're serious, as those people that are kind of like doing what they're doing on social media and canceling the PlayStation Plus and kind of like just going on a political rage like people usually do when politics gets a little bit crazy. Crypto Nick says greed has no limits. Adam Mental says in 10 to 15 years, we will be trying to explain to younger generations how we used to own things. And life before subscriptions. And they will roll their eyes. Okay, Grandpa. The funny thing is, if you try to explain to people how the 90s were now, it's going to be hard for them to realize. Before there was no online, there was no microtransactions. You had to blow the air in the cartridge, or you had to get the CD and get that CD cleaning liquid. You would put that on there to try to remove the scratches off of the CD. When you could mod the PlayStation to play games from Funko Land, like Dragon Ball GT Final Bout, Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Battle 22, and Dragon Ball Z Legends, where you put that little stick underneath there, or the little green alien-looking adapter in the back of the PlayStation to play Japanese games. I was one of those people. I went to Funko Land. If you're a 90s gamer, you know about Funko Land to play Japanese games on PlayStation. I just saying, we've been around that long, right? Tips and tricks, Nintendo Power, PlayStation magazines with the disc inside, where dudes used to go inside of Target and Walmart and open the plastic and steal the CD demo disc so they could just play demos. Hey, different days right there. Dallas is basically kind of giving the whip here, how people are going to be obeying. We got XBXSX, Xbox Series X, and Xbox Series. I can't believe they are banning people. I can't wait for the PS6. Kind of using PO's image of hugging the PlayStation 5. And, you know, you got Nicola, who used to kiss his PlayStation. I've seen some funny memes by people, which I think are kind of funny. You'll never see AGN do that type of stuff. Easy decision. Stop supporting PlayStation. Vote with your wallet. It's the only way. The problem with this is they have to be threatened by physical. But there's so many people that are digital, they are not going to care. Most people are selfish. There's selfish genes inside of the average human being. Good luck on that, guys. Sony's trying on all avenues to silence us. 100% true. So we've seen a lot just by PO's post. But are you ready for the next one? Guys, going down, we know this page right here has been doing a lot of work to make sure things get well in the PlayStation world. He says the same thing. User Pierre54V reports that during a PlayStation France live stream, several users began commenting on the situation of the physical format. The moderators deleted those messages and temporarily suspended the ability to comment for the users who posted them. Going down, he says that in my town is called censorship. 100% Sony is censoring people. We know that how Sony changed censorship compared to PS4 to PS5. And people used to say Nintendo used to be the one who used to be very kind of like prude about things. But the funny thing about this generation is it kind of shifted. And then Sony tried to try a lot of Nintendo methods this generation because they realized this was success. They weren't necessarily looking at Xbox. They're doing what they're doing even now because Xbox is no threat to them anymore. They look to Nintendo more than they do Xbox. You can tell by Sony's methods by trying to have a cheaper PlayStation model in Japan, but Japan is not falling for it and they're supporting it because they know there's a lot more to it than just price. Sony's trying to also make a Switch-like PlayStation handheld. Sony wants to increase their first party and only on PlayStation. These are all Nintendo methods. The difference here, though, is that when you look at prices, you can't match that because of just the way the industry works, right? So since Xbox is no longer a threat, this is why you do want competition. Sony is going for insane monopolies and manipulations. Everybody sees this. I enjoy my PlayStation Positive content, but it is time to criticize Sony again because it's just a human thing to do. Going down, Marciano says, well, of course, they are already pissing off with the same old thing. How many more tests do they need to see that they're not going to change their plan? We're in an era where everything's turning digital. You're downloaded into the digital matrix, the cyberdrive world. Guys, this is not a human world. AGN's not going to say anything else. Just be careful. And we've got to accept it. Used to be in a Elvis hokey pokey shake world. Then you had the TV in front of you and the cell phone towers and all of this. It happened pretty fast. You just kind of accepted it, but you weren't really sure where the technology came from. Remember, there's a difference between bit by bit, bytes, and solar. I'm not saying anything else. If you don't like it, switch to PC, Nintendo, or Xbox. My thing here is I'm for sure as hell not doing this because this is out of my jurisdiction. No. This is far worse. Sony just did something so big that it's bigger than everything that they've done, but all they do is consistently mess up. Now, if I see you going here to PC and Nintendo, I can kind of understand. But I feel like Nintendo is better than all of them. PC, look at what Steam is doing. $950 Steam Deck. $1,400 Steam machine for the equivalent of a PS5 Pro 2 terabyte model. You don't own any physical copies in there. So if you're crying about physical, how will PC remedy you? That's why I said that. What are you talking about? Anyways, he says, I'll stick with PlayStation and most people will keep doing the same. I think for the most part, this is going to happen, right? But he's going to get criticized over that. Going down, Sigmund says, keep up the pressure, guys. That's how they got rid of the Concord crap. True? One says, if they start blocking on Twitter, they'll end up all alone. I don't think Sony's going to do that. But I think when it comes to the Twitch format, There's always something weird going on there. Twitch has kind of showed some imbalanced corruption compared to the older Twitch. I like Twitch back in the days. Twitch now, nah, that's why I don't mess with Twitch anymore. I'm straight YouTube now, right? Like, Twitch has made me like very like annoyed and kind of like angry in the past 4 years when it comes to politics, when it comes to injustice and the change of leadership. I mean, I say probably 5 or 6. And I'm just like, no, nah, man, we're done with Twitch. Straight up. All right, now going down, Ryan says, don't stop effing with them. Every news story you see from the reporter or whatever saying that no matter what is done, they won't back down, ignore it. It's paid for by Sony. Keep effing with them and keep at it until they have to reverse everything. They are already several things that have been shown to affect them. There are already several things that have been shown to affect. Oh, 100%. Yeah, definitely when it comes to like PlayStation Plus canceling and all that. Juan Ramirez says Sony is earning the hate, but by their own efforts, LOL, let them keep going like that and see where it takes them. They've been arrogant before too, and the numbers have spoken. So just by looking at these two posts, a lot of people do not want to back down from the situation. They want to like go at Sony, and they want to make Sony reverse the decision. As I said before, Sony has a big physical crowd. Regardless of the numbers you're being shown, whether it's true or not, it's kind of hard to probably take some of that stuff face value. PS1, CD disc phenomenon. PS2, DVD phenomenon. PS3, Blu-ray phenomenon. PS4, counter Xbox phenomenon. Easy to share your games when they try to DRM lockdown, right? We remember that. Like, no matter what, everything that we have seen since Sony has announced this, they have continued to show that Sony's going to continue doing what they're doing, and we know you're going to comply and continue. They're being villains, no doubt about that. And AGN is not going to sit here and grift off of that. AGN is not going to support that. AGN is going to tell you the customer is right this time, right? And that this right here gives you the idea that Sony Europe has a lot of arrogance. Look at Jim Ryan. Look at the live service nonsense. It's right in front of you, right? It's not hard to see. So yeah, get on it. Keep on doing what you guys are doing. The best thing you could do is say, at least I tried my hardest. And if Sony didn't want to reverse that, it just kind of says a lot about them. But we tried everything as gamers. We fought for the physical medium. Even if some of us are digital, which I've been digital for a while, but I fought for you guys as physical medium. But if they don't want to change their minds, and if nobody has challenged them in legality or law, then there's not much you could do about it. So yeah, become a member, leave a tip down below, like and subscribe, let me know what you guys think. Hey guys, I did what I could here. Later, keep on gaming, no matter what platform you're on.